because it's tough no matter what. I mean, you sent the announcements list. It was 5 separate websites, right? Web pages
Yes.
full of all these announcements. It is just so much to cover. That we just need people that this is all they're doing. Where there's just no room for the politics in it. But all that aside, what were I mean, I'm curious the role of AI that you saw on the floor. Was it everywhere? I mean, you talked about that, was there AI hype and AI washing everywhere? Did you see any real solutions? I mean, what was your take on how this is all
Yeah.
playing?
So it's funny because we're going to talk about this later on in the show as well. But basically, you could not shake a stick without hitting a booth talking about their AI agent. Everybody wanted to talk about their AI agent, which is really just a delivery mechanism for doing what you've already been doing. And I honestly wonder how useful it is for a lot of security tasks where you are already an expert in cybersecurity if you're doing this task in the first place. So how much do you need the user interface to be dumbed down? I I'm really wondering how useful a lot of these agents will be. I think the more useful aspects are the ones that we're focusing on some sort of AI governance or some sort of injection protection for
Well, it's
protecting
interesting
data.
because there's sort of two parts of this landscape, right? There's one, a security company leveraging AI to simplify its own tool or to leverage it, within its own tool. And then there's security being applied to AI within the
Right.
enterprise. And so on the first one, which is where you started, it is interesting because to me, there's really only, maybe not only, but there's two right off the cuff, two use cases that sort of strike, right? The first is what I call that using AI as an abstraction layer. To your
Yep.
point, right? Taking away a very complex item and simplifying it so that somebody can simply chat with an AI agent or a bot, and it's actually going to go and handle this, and they don't have to know the process or the technicalities or whatever, right? But one of the things that's interesting is to your point is with security, it's almost always all about the details. So I'm not saying I can't see a use case. I mean, sort of like coding, right? There's a very powerful use case with AI and coding to speed up what are often mundane, routine, repeatable tasks. And I could see the same sort of focus. But
Like
I think
patching.
that
Yeah. Mhm.
I'm sorry?
Like patching, for instance.
Yeah, yeah, so
Mhm.
I can see where that part makes sense. And then the other use cases, which I guess is sort of related, it would be like the automation aspects of it, of handling a routine set of, maybe complex tasks. But I agree with you. I think I think you'd be hard pressed to not be asking yourself if you're a security company how you could apply AI and agents to do this. But on the other hand, it's probably one of the areas that because one of the things I talk about is right now everyone's trying to de-risk. Well, this is
Mhm.
the exact antithesis of de-risking, right? This is the bet your business kind of stuff. And so I bet we're seeing some hesitancy of using it in some of these areas, except for these very sort of like patching, right? Low bandwidth sort of, or high bandwidth, low risk sort of things.
Yeah. And so I think the progress is interesting to watch. I will say that one product in particular kind of got my attention uh, in a way a negative way, like the Palo
Mhm.
Alto networks, obviously one of the big security players. They announced their Prisma product, which said that they would basically protect everything end to end that is agentic. And to me, that sounds like there's a lot of room for failure here, especially since there's a lot of stuff in the middle in that is agentic right now where nobody can, I don't think anybody can honestly say they know how to secure it 100%.
I don't understand how this made it through a review, right? Because I'll read it because you pointed this one out, so I read through this. Palo Alto Networks has unveiled Prism Air as an AI security platform designed to secure every AI app, agent, model, and data set across the enterprise, the entire enterprise. It's like, okay, I think you'd be hard pressed to even define what that means right now, let alone actually execute on it. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's like that's just making a promise. There's no way they can possibly deliver on. At least not. I don't know if anyone's ever going to be able to truly deliver on it. It's one of those things, right? The only way they can do that would be not doing it effectively because there's just so much nuance, so much, so many layers of complexity. But
Right.
yeah, that was sort of fascinating and interesting, like you said, coming from a very well-regarded company. So that's sort of interesting.
Yeah, I don't mind taking a platform approach for a lot of types of solutions, but it is hard for me to imagine an AI security approach that isn't best in breed and piecemeal at this point, just because there are so many pieces to take a look at right now.
Did you go to their booth and see what they were actually doing?
I saw bits and pieces. I had trouble they did not have enough time to walk through the product in a standard way. And so I just got to see little bits and pieces.
And how would you see the entire thing anyway when it's everything, right? I mean, it's just
Literally
like that.
everything that happens in your IT world, yes.
All right. Well, how about more positively? Did anything stand out to you as like being, hey, this is really interesting, a novel approach, or solving a tough problem?
Yeah, I would say on the bright side, there was a relatively new company that I looked at called EQTY Lab, and they had a product called AI Guardian that looks at AI agents and then matches it up with security and policies. And I see that as a very common sense approach to dealing with agents. And I'm hoping that this is I'm hoping that this is a good use case for thinking about how to align generative AI with agentic use cases.
So again, full caveat that I'm not a security guy, so maybe this isn't as unique as it seems to me on the surface. I'm gonna play like the role of a CIO who
Ah,
like only surface knows some of this. But what's interesting is in their thing they're talking about that it's a cryptographic certificate approach that is on silicon. That so they're talking about being partnering with Intel and NVIDIA, and at least my read on that would mean that they're literally embedding this on chip as an extra layer of validation that at runtime effectively being able to ensure it. Now, I don't fully understand exactly what that would mean or how that would work, but that what I do like about it is I think that's the risk when we're talking about AI is that the not being able to understand where things are running and is something getting like either injected or spoofed or so I do feel like that has an interesting approach. And to going back to this when we talked about it, using AI within your tool or using AI or using security to help with managing AI more broadly, this is in that latter camp. And I agree with you. I think this is where there's um, the Palo Alto thing notwithstanding, I think this is where the great opportunity and challenge is because organizations are going to struggle with this. And so I would be very curious to dig deeper and understand exactly what that means and is the fact that it's embedded, does that, what does that really get you?
yeah, I think being able to lock down resources to a greater extent from agentic tomfoolery and hacking is a good direction to go in, even if this hasn't nailed it. It at least is directionally hinting at doing the right thing rather than simply whitewashing over everything with AI.
Anything else?
um, so I did see a lot of video games on the floor.
A lot of
Oh
video
yeah,
games?
apparently RSA is now a video game arcade as well. I probably saw 15, 16 different machines. It was great to watch people playing F1 driving and what have you, but wouldn't say that's a great thing. And I also saw not just a petting zoo for dogs, but also baby goats on the floor.
I saw you post.
So the marketing standard is going higher. Like your game's got to be pretty strong if you're going to be on the RSA floor.
So I saw you posted the goat, but you didn't post it. Why? Why were there goats on the floor?
Because they are the greatest of all time. So they brought goats.
That was their pitch on that, huh? Oh, okay. Well, hey, I mean, it got their attention. I think what's really tough. I mean, I went through, and like I said, it was 5 full pages full of these. You basically get a long paragraph of each announcement of what it is, and it just your eyes start glazing over by the third
Threat
page. I mean,
intelligence, threat intelligence, threat intelligence, threat intelligence.
it's so tough. Um, well, hey, I think it's interesting, and it is what it is as far as trying to get your head around it. It speaks to how great a challenge is, and it speaks to how much money there is in addressing it. But all right, well, before we move on, anything else from RSA that you felt, if you're an enterprise IT leader, that you felt, hey, they really needed to kind of hear this?
Honestly, I did not get any other big messages out of it this year. There really was an amazing focus on agentic AI. It was very hard to get even standard messages around endpoint security or firewall or anything that is considered kind of commoditized at this point. Nobody would even talk about it.
Well, and it's as we're going to talk about later in the show. I mean, part of the challenge remains is that this whole area is still so new. We don't even have reliable definitions of what the heck it means. So it's pretty hard to secure something when we can't even agree on what to call it. But
Yeah.